Death at Rottingdean, Chapter 20. The game is afoot. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, The Adventure of the Abbey Grange. For the better part of the last hour, Harry Todd had been sitting at his desk in the office of Horcombe's stables, first drumming his fingers, then twiddling a pencil, then twirling his watch chain, all quite unconsciously. Harry was lost in thought. After what had happened the night before, he had a great deal to think about. The most urgent matter, of course, was Foxy's murder, which was difficult enough to deal with in and of itself. Never mind the other complications. Harry had taken his orders from the Coast Guard captain, who was in close communication with both the investors and the suppliers, and knew precisely when each shipment would arrive, what it would contain, and where it was bound once it left Rottingdean. Now that Foxy was dead, where would Harry's instructions come from? How would he know when to expect the shipments? How would he know what to do with the goods? Troublesome complications in what had been otherwise sublimely smooth operation. With a dark look, Harry picked up the pencil and threw it hard across the room. There were other complications as well, even more troublesome. Trunky Thomas' indictment of him was utter nonsense, and Harry was fired by the righteous wrath of a man who has been maliciously and wrongfully accused of a murder that he did not commit. But at Black Horse last night, the sheer volume of Trunky's accusations had overridden Harry's surprised protestations of innocence, and Harry knew that some of the others were inclined to side with Trunky. They were bound to talk among themselves and with other villagers, and Harry would soon become the de facto killer, not only of Foxy Smith, but also of George Ratford as well. When the authorities came to investigate, it would be very easy to offer him up, a convenient scapegoat for the sins of the village. It would be very easy, in fact, to put forward an eyewitness, somebody who claimed to have seen Harry do the deed. This thought made Harry shudder, and he got up and began to pace back and forth in front of his table. To forestall such a disagreeable eventuality, he had to find out who had shot Foxy Smith. Was it Trunky attempting to insinuate himself between Harry and Foxy, or Harry and the investors? Was it one of the others, angry at Foxy's high-handed way of doing business, or at the captain himself, who had never gotten along with anybody in the village? Or had the killing been arranged by the investors, who were frightened by Ratford's death and anxious to back out of their arrangement with the village? And how was Foxy's murder connected to that of the younger Coast Guard? Had the same person killed both men to protect himself? Did he have to discover two murderers? Harry went to stand before the window, hands behind his back, staring at the bustle of men around the smithy, behind them a boy leading a pair of horses to exercise. The most pressing problem of all, unfortunately, had to be solved immediately. What was he to do about tomorrow's night's shipment, which Harry felt had to be signalled off, which Trunky and the others insisted on signalling in? How could he determine what the investors expected him to do? How might he... The door opened with a creak, and Harry turned. A slender man with fuzzy grey side whiskers, so tall that he had to duck his head to clear the door jamb, had entered the room without the formality of knocking. The staff in his hand and the canvas pack on his back, from which hung a variety of clanking implements, gave him the appearance of an old-fashioned peddler of pots and pans. His smoked glass eye preservers, in conjunction with his waterproof cloak, made him look like a masked black bat. "Good afternoon, Mr. Tutwell," the man said in a deep voice coloured by a slightly guttural continental accent. "Good afternoon," Harry returned, feeling that he knew the man but unable to momentarily recall his name. Then, in the same instant, he remembered. This was the eccentric whom he had seen wandering about the Downs on occasion in the last several summers, a foreigner with a peculiar taste for odds and ends of stones and bones. He had never known the vagabond's name, for the man seldom came into the village and had never required the stable services, obviously preferring to do his perambulating on foot. Well, Harry thought, measuring him with an expert's eye, it would not be advisable to hire out any of the better animals to the fellow. If he wanted a ride, he would have to be satisfied with old Jupiter, who was not so nimble-footed that he could get anyone into trouble. He was about to ask if a horse was what was wanted, when the stranger surprised him with an unusual question. "Are you expecting any other visitor? I do not wish that we should be disturbed." "No," Harry said, nonplussed. "That is, He frowned. "Look here, sir. Can I help you?" The stranger seemed amused. No, I think it is rather the other way around, my good Mr. Tutwell. You see, I am here to help you." The mysterious visitor waited while Harry digested this unexpected remark, then touched the fingers of his left hand to his forehead, as a magician might, pretending to see the unseen. As he raised his hand, his implements jangled. "Just now," he said, "just as I entered, you were asking yourself how you might contact certain gentlemen who have invested a great deal of money in this village, gentlemen with whom you have lost contact as a result of an untimely demise of one of your confederates. You were wondering how you should deal with a certain business transaction which has been scheduled for tomorrow evening." He lowered his hand and smiled, stretching thin lips across his teeth. "I am here to answer those questions for you, Harry Tutwill, and to inform you of your good fortune." Harry recoiled dumbfounded. This clanking apparition obviously knew more of his business than he did. What good fortune?" he demanded. He smelled a trap. But if it was a trap, Harry knew with a sinking heart he was already well and truly caught. "Why, your advancement in rank," the man said. He gave Harry a jovial grin, the effect of which was partially compromised by the fact that the expression in his eyes could not be read. "The unfortunate death of Captain Smith have left a gap, shall we say, a broken link in the chain. You, sir, are to fill that gap. You have moved one link up in the chain. You have been promoted, as it were." Harry pulled in his breath. "Who the devil are you?" he cried, trying to disguise the stark fear that clutched at his innards. "What business do you have coming in here and—" "I," the stranger laughed with a genuine amusement, "I am the next link in the chain, Mr. Tutwill. You will report to me." "Your name?" Harry was conscious that his voice was not too steady. "What's your name?" "My name, sir," the man said, "is unimportant. Perhaps more to the point, it would be dangerous for you to know it. What one does not know, of course, one cannot reveal even under extreme duress." The light glinted from the smoked lenses that masked his eyes. Harry was beginning to feel like a chip of wood being sucked willy-nilly into a drain hole. His ears were roaring. But if I don't know your name," he managed, half gasping, "where you may be reached, how may I manage to contact you?" "You are not to contact me," the man spoke sternly, as if he were a schoolmaster and Harry a disobedient boy. "It would be hazardous to try in this game where the risks are run high. Your advancement, Mr. Tutwill, is of more consequence than you can know, and the game is larger than you can think. When it is required, I shall contact you. Is that clearly understood?" Harry closed his eyes, trying to think it through logically. Obviously, the investors, whoever they were no fools. They had a system, well worked out, well organized, carefully scheduled. He had to try to understand their system so that he could use it rather than be used by it. But he must not allow himself to be rushed into any agreements. He firmed his voice. "I'll need time to think about this. I can't commit myself at the moment. There are a few factors to be considered. There is no time," the man said. His tone was conversational, but the words had an edge of a knife. "If you are not inclined to accept immediately, I shall walk down High Street and call on a certain Mr. Thomas, who, I am reliably informed, has already expressed a great deal of enthusiasm for this particular position. If Mr. Thomas should be pleased to step up in rank, you will become, shall we say, superfluous." Harry stared at him. "Superfluous, yes," the man repeated, with a melancholy sigh, as if it rather liked Harry and wished it were otherwise. "In the same way that your unfortunate predecessor became superfluous." Harry gulped. A sudden intuition as sharp as persuasive as a point of a dagger told him that this man was Foxy Smith's killer, and that if he failed to do as he was told, he would go the way that Foxy had gone. He felt himself being pulled into the vortex of the drain, the light closing down to a pinpoint over his head, the roaring in his ears almost deafening. "I see," he said weakly. "Well, in that case, you have chosen wisely, Mr. Tutwill." The man lifted his head. "I am pleased that we have arrived at the meeting of the minds." His voice became brisk. "Now, about the transaction that has been scheduled for tomorrow evening, the investors have decided that, under the circumstances, there is a very great danger of detection." "Yes," Harry said. "Right." His mouth was dry and his voice came out in a squeak. He swallowed and put more force behind his words, anxious to recoup any status he might have lost by appearing tentative. "I told them at last night's meeting that we should suspend operations. I said it wasn't safe, with the possibility of an inquiry and all." The smile came and went quickly, although the smoked lenses hit the man's eyes. "A very intelligent caution, Mr. Tutwill. However—" "They didn't like it," Harry said. "They want to go ahead with the landing." The man sighed. "Unfortunately, we must go ahead with the landing. The arrangement has been made, the ship has sailed, and we cannot alter our plan. However, I must emphasize the importance of caution. Be certain that you have people that you can trust." "That's the trouble," Harry muttered. "I don't know as I can trust anybody." "It is time," the man said severely, "that your troops learn to follow orders. You must see to it that they understand and obey. Whatever Captain Smith's faults, he was not a man to brook any disobedience in his subordinates. In that way he was quite satisfactory. He may have gone too far, but—" He broke off. "But that is neither here nor there." Harry frowned, seeing another difficulty. "The trouble is, they're not troops. I'm not sure exactly how I can force them to. The method, Mr. Tutwell, is not important. I leave it to you to find an appropriate way to compel their complete cooperation, bearing in mind that the operation is everything." He pulled himself up, repeating with emphasis this time, "Everything. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir," Harry said, although for the life of him he could not think how he could compel Trunky Thomas to cooperate. "Well then, you will take your party to the position on the cliff tomorrow night. When the ship appears and shows the signal, you will answer with the appropriate designation for landing at Rottingdean. You know the code?" "3 lanterns," Harry muttered. "Very good. 3 lanterns it is. One more thing. Tomorrow morning a travelling case will arrive here in your office. Guard it well, for it is of great importance. After dark has fallen and before you take your position on the cliff, stow the travelling case in the first bathing machine and apply this lock to the hasp. I have the second key." He handed Harry a padlock and a key. "Further, I wish you to see that a skiff is pulled up on the beach near the bathing machine." "A skiff?" Harry asked, puzzled. The man did not answer the question. "You will not see me, but I shall know what transpires and evaluate your performance accordingly." He smiled grimly. "This will be, as it were, your first test. Do you understand?" Harry understood all too well. A vast and desperate anxiety began to rise up inside him. "Very good. I will contact you when it is safe to resume your operation. Until then, you must carefully monitor the course of the official investigation. You should particularly keep an eye on a certain party by the name of Sheridan, who is staying here at Rottingdean. He may prove meddlesome." Harry nodded. The man pulled his waterproof around. "It would seem, then, that the game is afoot, and that, Mr. Tutwell, is all I have to say today." He turned toward the door. "Wait!" Harry cried, feeling that his lifeline was about to be cut. Fear him or not, this man was the only contact with the investors, his only contact beyond the village. And the village itself and the villagers now seemed terribly threatening. The man turned, frowning. "Yes?" A dozen questions were turning in Harry's mind. He grasped at one. What's to be done with the goods which got squirreled away down below? Where are we to haul them?" "Nowhere for the moment. Until you hear from me again, you are simply to store the merchandise, except for the small lots that may be used for local consumption, discreetly and with proper accounting, of course. No more questions. I am off." The door closed and the man was gone before Harry could try once again to detain him. He sank helplessly into his chair, beaten and utterly exhausted, trembling uncontrollably. The man was Foxy's murderer, of that he was certain, and that he would be the next victim, of that he was certain too. Harry's visitor, on the other hand, strode powerfully down the brick-paved walkway, his cape rustling, his gear clanging at every step. If he saw the boy shrink quickly out of sight into the first loose box, he gave no visible sign of it. But who could know, master as he was, what he had seen?